Nothing, and we mean nothing, beats Grandma's cooking. While these recipes seem too tasty to be old-timey, trust Grandma. The classics are timeless and need no tweaking. Enjoy the best of Grandma's kitchen for half an hour. Peach Cobbler. Nothing says summer like the bubbling golden crust of peach cobbler, straight from the oven. Grandma would use fresh peaches from the backyard tree, their juice running down your chin with every spoonful. The biscuit topping wasn't fancy, just flour, butter, and milk. But it soaked up all those peachy juices perfectly. She'd serve it warm with a scoop of vanilla ice cream that melted into creamy rivers. Every bite transported you to lazy summer afternoons on the front porch swing. The secret was using peaches so ripe, they practically fell apart in your hands. Some grandmas added a pinch of nutmeg or cardamom to make their cobbler stand out at church potlucks. The dish was forgiving too. Overripe peaches actually made it better, their intense sweetness balancing the buttery topping. On special occasions, she might add blackberries or blueberries to the mix. This wasn't just dessert. It was summer captured in a casserole dish, served with love and always followed by seconds. Apple pie. The phrase, "as American as apple pie," didn't come from nowhere. Every grandmother had her own secret recipe passed down through generations. Some swore by Granny Smith apples for their tartness, while others mixed varieties for complexity. The real magic happened in the crust, rolled paper-thin with a wooden rolling pin her own grandmother had used. She'd pile those spiced apple slices high, knowing they'd cook down perfectly. The top crust got fancy latticework or simple slits, but always a sprinkle of sugar for that golden shine. The kitchen filled with cinnamon and nutmeg as it baked, drawing everyone to hover nearby. Each grandmother had her tricks. Some added a tablespoon of flour to prevent soggy bottoms. Others brushed the crust with egg wash. The first slice was always saved for whoever helped peel apples. Served with sharp cheddar cheese or vanilla ice cream, it was the perfect ending to Sunday dinner. Even store-bought could never match the love baked into Grandma's version. Chocolate cake. Before boxed mixes took over, Grandma made chocolate cake from scratch, using cocoa powder and buttermilk. Her recipe created layers so moist they practically melted on your tongue. The secret ingredient was often coffee, just a cup of strong brew that deepened the chocolate flavor, without making it taste like coffee at all. She'd cream butter and sugar by hand until her arm ached, then fold in eggs, one at a time. The kitchen counter would be dusted with flour, and she'd have chocolate under her fingernails for days. Her frosting was pure poetry. Butter, powdered sugar, and cocoa whipped until light and fluffy. Some grandmothers added a splash of vanilla extract or even a pinch of salt to make the chocolate sing. The cake appeared at every birthday, celebration, and just because moment. She'd let grandkids lick the bowl and beaters, creating chocolate mustaches that lasted all afternoon. 2 layers were standard, but special occasions called for 3, each one slathered with that heavenly frosting. Banana pudding. This wasn't the instant pudding version we know today. Grandma made hers with real custard, stirring constantly over low heat until it coated the back of a spoon. Vanilla wafers formed the foundation, their sweet crunch contrasting perfectly with silky bananas and creamy pudding. She'd slice those bananas just before assembly to prevent browning, though some grandmothers swore by a squeeze of lemon juice. The layers built up like edible architecture. Cookies, bananas, pudding, repeat. The top got crowned with pillowy meringue or fresh whipped cream. It had to chill overnight, allowing flavors to meld and cookies to soften into cake-like perfection. The first spoonful revealed all those beautiful layers, each one contributing its own texture and taste. Some family recipes called for a splash of vanilla extract in the pudding. Others added a pinch of salt. Church ladies competed fiercely over whose banana pudding reigned supreme. Even picky eaters couldn't resist its creamy, comforting appeal. This dessert made believers out of skeptics every single time. Strawberry shortcake. Real strawberry shortcake started with homemade biscuits. Not sponge cake, but buttery, flaky biscuits that could hold their own against juicy berries. Grandma would macerate fresh strawberries with sugar hours ahead, creating a ruby red syrup that was pure liquid summer. Her biscuits were made with cold butter, cut into flour, until it resembled coarse meal. Then, brought together with just enough cream. They'd emerge from the oven golden and tender, ready to be split while still warm. The assembly was pure theater. Bottom biscuit half, generous spoonful of berries and juice, dollop of fresh whipped cream, top biscuit half, more berries, more cream. The juice soaked into the biscuit, creating pockets of strawberry heaven in every bite. Some grandmothers added a touch of vanilla to their whipped cream. Others kept it pure. The key was using berries at peak ripeness, so sweet they barely needed additional sugar. It was the official dessert of spring, marking strawberry season with celebration. Even the messiest eaters couldn't resist diving in face first. Lemon meringue pie. The perfect lemon meringue pie balanced three distinct elements: crisp pastry, silky tart filling, and cloud-like meringue that never wept. Grandma started with fresh lemons, rolling them firmly on the counter to release maximum juice. Her curd was made the old-fashioned way, whisking egg yolks and sugar over gentle heat until thick enough to coat a spoon. The meringue required patience. Egg whites whipped to soft peaks, then sugar added gradually until glossy and stable. She'd pile it high on the warm filling, making sure it touched the crust edges to prevent shrinking. The oven was just hot enough to brown the peaks golden. Her secret was adding a pinch of cream of tartar to stabilize the meringue and a tablespoon of cornstarch to prevent weeping. The pie needed to cool completely before slicing, though the anticipation nearly killed everyone. Each slice revealed sunny yellow filling, topped with sweet white clouds. Some grandmothers added lemon zest to intensify the flavor. Others kept it smooth and pure. This pie could brighten any dreary day with its sunshine personality. Pineapple upside-down cake. This topsy-turvy masterpiece started with butter and brown sugar melting together in a cast-iron skillet. Pineapple rings arranged like golden halos got nestled into that caramelized base, each center filled with a bright red cherry. The cake batter poured over top, hiding the beautiful fruit arrangement until the dramatic flip. Grandma would let it rest just long enough for the caramel to release, then turn it out onto her best cake plate. The pineapple glistened like stained glass windows, the cherries like little jewels. Her batter was simple yellow cake, butter, sugar, eggs, and flour, with just enough vanilla. The real magic happened during baking when fruit juices mingled with brown sugar, creating sticky sweet perfection. Some grandmothers used fresh pineapple. Others relied on canned rings. The cast-iron skillet was essential. It distributed heat evenly and created that perfect caramelization. Each slice revealed the beautiful pattern, fruit suspended in tender cake. It was exotic enough to feel special, but familiar enough for Sunday dinner. Even pineapple skeptics couldn't resist this showstopper. Coconut cream pie. Grandma's coconut cream pie featured a pastry shell filled with silky custard, studded with shredded coconut, and topped with billowing whipped cream. She'd toast some of the coconut until golden, adding depth and crunch to contrast the creamy filling. The custard started with milk heated just to scalding, then tempered into beaten egg yolks and sugar. Cornstarch prevented curdling and created that perfect pudding consistency. She'd stir in vanilla extract and fold in the coconut while still warm. The pie shell was pre-baked until golden, ensuring no soggy bottoms. Fresh whipped cream crowned the top, sometimes with more toasted coconut sprinkled over. Each bite delivered tropical paradise, creamy, sweet, and satisfying. Some grandmothers added a splash of coconut extract to intensify flavor. Others relied on the natural coconut alone. The key was using unsweetened shredded coconut, not the overly sweet stuff from a bag. This pie transported you to a beach vacation from your own dining room table. Even coconut skeptics found themselves asking for seconds. Key lime pie. True key lime pie could only be made with those tiny, intensely tart key limes from Florida, though many grandmothers made do with bottled juice and regular limes. The filling was deceptively simple: sweetened condensed milk, egg yolks, and lime juice that magically thickened without cooking. A graham cracker crust provided the perfect sweet, crunchy contrast to that silky tart filling. Some grandmothers insisted on whipped cream topping. Others preferred it plain to let the lime shine. The authentic version was pale yellow, not green. Food coloring was for amateurs. It needed several hours to set properly, the filling firming up to perfect sliceability. Each bite delivered a punch of citrus that made your mouth pucker in the best possible way. The tropical flavors transported you to sunny Florida beaches, even in the dead of winter. Some recipes called for a touch of lime zest in the filling, adding aromatic oils to the mix. This pie proved that sometimes the simplest ingredients created the most memorable desserts. Even lime haters found themselves converted after one taste. Angel Food Cake. Angel Food Cake was Grandma's showstopper. A towering white cake so light it seemed to defy gravity. Made with just egg whites, sugar, and cake flour, it required patience and technique most modern bakers lack. She'd separate eggs when they were still cold, then let the whites come to room temperature for maximum volume. Her mixing bowl and beaters were spotlessly clean. Even a trace of fat would prevent proper whipping. The whites got beaten to soft peaks before sugar was gradually added, creating glossy meringue. Cake flour was sifted multiple times, then gently folded in by hand to preserve all those air bubbles. The tube pan was never greased. The batter needed to cling to the sides as it rose. After baking, the cake was inverted to cool, maintaining its lofty height. She'd serve it with fresh berries and whipped cream, or a simple dusting of powdered sugar. Each slice was pure heaven, sweet, airy, and dissolving on your tongue. This cake proved that sometimes, less truly, was more. Black Forest Cake. This German-inspired creation featured layers of chocolate cake soaked with cherry juice and kirsch, filled with whipped cream, and studded with sweet cherries. Grandma might have called it chocolate cherry cake, but the fancy name made it sound sophisticated. Her chocolate layers were rich, but not too sweet, providing the perfect backdrop for cherries and cream. She'd brush each layer with cherry syrup, sometimes spiked with a splash of brandy for the adults. Fresh whipped cream got folded with vanilla and a touch of powdered sugar for stability. Sweet cherries, fresh in summer, jarred in winter, dotted every layer. The outside was completely covered in more whipped cream, then decorated with chocolate shavings and whole cherries. It was a labor of love that took most of the day to assemble properly. Each slice revealed beautiful layers of contrasting colors and textures. The combination of chocolate, cherries, and cream was pure decadence. This cake appeared at the most special celebrations, when ordinary desserts wouldn't do. Even chocolate skeptics couldn't resist this elegant showpiece. Country apple dumplings. These weren't your ordinary baked apples. Grandma wrapped whole peeled apples in tender pastry, then baked them in a bath of butter, sugar, and spices. She'd core the apples but leave them whole, stuffing the center with brown sugar, cinnamon, and a pat of butter. The pastry was simple pie dough rolled thin, then wrapped around each apple like a precious gift. They'd sit in a baking dish surrounded by a sauce of butter, sugar, water, and more cinnamon. As they baked, the sauce caramelized and the pastry turned golden brown. The apples steamed inside their pastry cocoons, becoming tender and infused with all those sweet spices. She'd serve them warm with the pan sauce, spooned over top, sometimes with a scoop of vanilla ice cream. Each dumpling was a complete dessert in itself: fruit, pastry, and sauce all in one. The aroma while they baked was intoxicating, drawing everyone to the kitchen. Some grandmothers added a splash of lemon juice to brighten the flavors. This was comfort food at its finest. Simple, yet incredibly satisfying. Texas Sheet Cake. This wasn't a fancy layer cake. It was a humble sheet cake that fed a crowd and pleased everyone who tried it. The cake itself was tender chocolate perfection, made with cocoa powder and buttermilk for extra richness. What made it special was the warm fudge frosting poured over the still hot cake, seeping into every pore and creating a glossy chocolate surface. Grandma would bring the frosting ingredients to a boil on the stovetop: butter, cocoa, milk, and powdered sugar. Then stir in vanilla and chopped pecans. The nuts added crunch and richness to every bite. She'd pour it over the cake while both were still warm, watching it spread into perfect smoothness. By the time it cooled, the frosting had formed a slightly crispy top with a fudgy interior. Each square was intensely chocolatey and incredibly moist. This cake was a potluck legend, disappearing faster than anything else on the table. It transported well and actually improved after sitting overnight. Some grandmothers added coffee to the cake batter for deeper chocolate flavor. Simple ingredients transformed into something absolutely magical. Chocolate mayonnaise cake. Before you wrinkle your nose, this was actually Grandma's secret weapon for the moistest chocolate cake ever created. The mayonnaise replaced both eggs and oil, creating incredible richness and keeping the cake tender for days. Nobody ever guessed the secret ingredient unless Grandma told them. Her recipe started with cocoa powder and flour, then added the mayonnaise along with sugar and vanilla. Hot coffee bloomed the cocoa and created depth of flavor without tasting like coffee. The batter was smooth and glossy, baking into layers that were almost fudgy in texture. She'd frost it with simple chocolate buttercream, or sometimes just dust it with powdered sugar. The cake stayed moist longer than any other chocolate cake in existence. Kids would beg for the recipe, never believing it contained mayonnaise. It was perfect for birthday parties because it held up well and pleased even the pickiest eaters. Some grandmothers added a tablespoon of vinegar for extra tenderness. This unusual cake proved that the best recipes often came from the most unexpected places. Even skeptics became believers after one bite. Magic cookie bars. These layered bars were pure magic. Graham cracker crumbs, butter, chocolate chips, coconut, nuts, and sweetened condensed milk combined into one irresistible treat. Grandma would press the crumb mixture into a buttery pan, then sprinkle on each layer like she was building a delicious skyscraper. Chocolate chips went on first, followed by shredded coconut, then chopped pecans or walnuts. The sweetened condensed milk got drizzled over everything, binding all the ingredients together during baking. They emerged from the oven golden brown and bubbling, smelling like heaven on earth. The hard part was waiting for them to cool completely before cutting. They needed time to set properly. Each bar contained every possible texture and flavor: crunchy, chewy, sweet, and nutty all at once. They were foolproof to make and impossible to mess up. Kids loved them because every bite was different, depending on how the layers settled. Some grandmothers added butterscotch chips or toffee bits for variation. These bars disappeared faster than she could make them, prompting constant requests for just one more. They proved that simple ingredients could create pure magic when combined correctly. Lane cake. This southern belle of a cake featured layers of white cake, filled with a boozy fruit and nut mixture that would make grown-ups swoon. Grandma's filling was a work of art. Egg yolks cooked with sugar until thick, then loaded with raisins, pecans, coconut, and enough bourbon to make it interesting. The cake layers were delicate white cake, tender, and fine crumb to showcase the spectacular filling. She'd assemble it carefully, spreading that luxurious mixture between each layer with generous hands. The outside got covered in fluffy white frosting, sometimes decorated with more pecans. It needed to age at least overnight, allowing the flavors to meld and the cake to absorb some of that boozy goodness. Each slice revealed layers of pristine white cake, separated by dark, rich filling, studded with fruit and nuts. The combination was sophisticated and complex, definitely an adults-only dessert. This cake appeared at weddings, holidays, and other special celebrations. Some grandmothers soaked the cake layers with a light sugar syrup for extra moisture. It was a showstopper that proved Southern bakers knew how to create edible works of art. Bananas Foster. This New Orleans specialty transformed simple bananas into a flaming dessert that never failed to impress dinner guests. Grandma would slice ripe bananas and cook them in a mixture of butter, brown sugar, and cinnamon until caramelized and tender. The real drama came when she added dark rum and carefully ignited it, creating blue flames that danced across the pan. The alcohol burned off, leaving behind rich, complex flavors that coated the bananas in glossy perfection. She'd serve it immediately over vanilla ice cream, the hot bananas creating rivers of melted cream. The contrast between hot and cold, creamy and spiced, was absolutely divine. Some grandmothers added a splash of banana liqueur for extra banana flavor. The key was using bananas that were ripe but not mushy. They needed to hold their shape during cooking. Kids watched in awe as the flames flickered, though they had to wait for it to cool slightly before digging in. This dessert turned any ordinary dinner into a special occasion. The theatrical presentation was half the fun, making everyone feel like they were dining at a fancy restaurant. Simple fruit became pure magic with a little sugar, butter, and showmanship. Spumoni. This Italian frozen dessert was like having 3 ice creams in one, featuring layers of chocolate, pistachio, and cherry ice cream often studded with candied fruits and nuts. Grandma would buy it from the Italian bakery downtown, or sometimes attempt her own version using an old-fashioned ice cream maker. The traditional version featured distinct layers that created beautiful slices when cut. Pistachio ice cream provided an unusual nutty flavor that kids either loved or hated. No in between. The cherry layer was sweet and fruity, while chocolate provided familiar comfort. Candied cherries and sometimes pieces of chocolate or nuts added textural interest to every bite. It was served in neat slices that showed off all the colorful layers, often at special family dinners or holidays. The combination of flavors was sophisticated and complex, introducing kids to tastes beyond vanilla and chocolate. Some versions included rum or other liqueurs for adult palates. It was a conversation starter that got everyone talking about their favorite layer. This dessert represented a time when exotic flavors were truly exotic, bringing a taste of Italy to American dinner tables. Even those who claimed to dislike pistachio found themselves enjoying it in this combination. Lemon Chiffon Pie. This ethereal dessert combined the tartness of lemon with the lightness of chiffon, creating something that seemed to float off the fork. Grandma's version started with a graham cracker crust, its sweet crunch providing perfect contrast to the airy filling. The filling required separating eggs. Yolks got cooked with lemon juice and sugar until thick, while whites were whipped to peaks with additional sugar. Gelatin helped everything set properly, creating a filling that was both creamy and light. She'd fold the cooled lemon mixture into the meringue with a gentle hand, preserving all those air bubbles. The pie needed to chill for hours until completely set, the filling becoming moussey and perfect for slicing. Each bite delivered intense lemon flavor, balanced by sweet meringue texture. Some grandmothers added lemon zest for extra citrus punch. Others kept it smooth and pure. The pale yellow color was as beautiful as the taste, making it a stunning addition to any dessert table. This pie proved that light didn't have to mean lacking in flavor. Even those who claimed to dislike lemon desserts found themselves asking for seconds. Baked Alaska. This showstopper dessert combined cake, ice cream, and meringue into one spectacular presentation that never failed to amaze guests. Grandma would start with a layer of sponge cake, then add scoops of ice cream. Vanilla was traditional, though some used multiple flavors. The whole thing got covered in thick meringue, then quickly browned in a hot oven to create golden peaks while keeping the ice cream frozen. The science was impressive. The meringue insulated the ice cream, preventing it from melting during the brief baking time. She'd serve it immediately, cutting through the crispy meringue to reveal cold ice cream and tender cake beneath. The temperature contrasts were thrilling. Hot meringue, cold ice cream, and cake that was somewhere in between. Some grandmothers flambéed it with rum for extra drama, creating flames that danced across the surface. It required precise timing and couldn't be made ahead, making it a true test of a baker's skill. The presentation was always met with gasps and applause from family and friends. This dessert represented the pinnacle of home baking sophistication, proof that Grandma could create restaurant-quality desserts in her own kitchen. Coffee cake. This wasn't cake to eat with coffee, but cake that contained coffee flavor, creating a sophisticated dessert for grown-up palates. Grandma's version featured layers of tender butter cake with a cinnamon streusel running through the middle and sprinkled on top. The coffee flavor was subtle but present, often enhanced with a touch of coffee liqueur or strong brewed coffee in the batter. She'd swirl cinnamon sugar through the middle layer, creating ribbons of sweet spice throughout the cake. The streusel topping contained butter, flour, brown sugar, and cinnamon, baking into crunchy clusters that provided textural contrast. Some versions included chopped walnuts or pecans for extra richness. It was perfect for afternoon entertaining or special brunch occasions. Sophisticated enough for company, but comforting enough for family. Each slice revealed beautiful layers of cake and streusel, with the coffee flavor adding depth without being overwhelming. The cake improved after sitting overnight, the flavors melding and the texture becoming more tender. Some grandmothers added a simple glaze drizzled over the top for extra sweetness. This was the kind of cake that made the house smell amazing while it baked, drawing everyone to the kitchen. Prickly Pear Sorbet. This unusual desert-inspired treat showcased the sweet, watermelon-like flavor of prickly pear cactus fruit in a refreshing frozen dessert. Grandmothers in the Southwest would carefully harvest the bright magenta fruits, using tongs to avoid the tiny spines. The fruit was strained to remove seeds, creating a beautiful pink puree that tasted like a cross between watermelon and kiwi. Sugar syrup was added, along with lemon juice to balance the flavors and prevent crystallization. She'd churn it in an old-fashioned ice cream maker or freeze it in metal pans, stirring regularly to break up ice crystals. The finished sorbet was in stunning bright pink color that immediately caught attention. Each spoonful delivered clean, refreshing fruit flavor, with a slight floral undertone unique to prickly pear. It was the perfect palate cleanser after spicy southwestern meals, cooling and soothing the tongue. Some grandmothers added a splash of lime juice or tequila for adult versions. This sorbet represented the ingenuity of desert dwellers, turning an unlikely ingredient into something beautiful and delicious. Even those unfamiliar with prickly pear found themselves enchanted by its unique flavor and gorgeous color. Possum Pie. Despite its unusual name, this southern pie contained no possums, just layers of cream cheese, chocolate pudding, and whipped cream in a pecan crust that created pure decadence. Grandma would press a mixture of crushed pecans, butter, and sugar into a pie plate, baking it until golden and fragrant. The first layer was sweetened cream cheese mixed until light and fluffy, providing tangy richness. Next came chocolate pudding, homemade if she had time, though good quality instant worked too. The final layer was billowy whipped cream, sometimes stabilized with a touch of gelatin. The combination created a pie with multiple textures and complementary flavors: nutty crust, tangy cream cheese, rich chocolate, and light cream. It had to chill for several hours to set properly, the layers firming up but remaining distinct. Each slice revealed all the beautiful layers, making it as attractive as it was delicious. Some grandmothers sprinkled chopped pecans on top for extra crunch. This pie was popular at potluck dinners and church socials, always generating curiosity about its name and requests for the recipe. It proved that Southern cooks had a sense of humor, along with serious dessert-making skills. Salisbury steak with brown gravy. Long before anyone knew what molecular gastronomy was, grandmothers were transforming humble ground beef into something that looked and tasted like restaurant fare. Salisbury steak was their answer to making dinner feel special on a Tuesday night. Ground beef was mixed with breadcrumbs, egg, and seasonings, then shaped into oval patties that resembled real steaks. The real magic happened in the gravy, a rich, brown sauce made from pan drippings that could make cardboard taste good. This dish represented the American dream on a plate, taking something ordinary and making it extraordinary. The steaks were pan-fried until golden, then simmered in that gorgeous gravy, alongside mushrooms and onions. Served over mashed potatoes or egg noodles, it was comfort food that fooled nobody but satisfied everyone. Your grandmother understood that sometimes the best meals came from the heart, not the wallet. And Salisbury steak was proof that simple ingredients could create lasting memories. Pork chops and sauerkraut. When your grandmother wanted to create something that tasted like it came from the old country, she'd make pork chops and sauerkraut, a dish that was both hearty and flavorful. Thick-cut pork chops would be browned until golden, then nestled into a bed of sauerkraut that had been seasoned with caraway seeds and sometimes a touch of brown sugar to balance the tartness. The whole thing would be baked slowly until the meat was tender and the sauerkraut had absorbed all those wonderful flavors. This was comfort food with a German twist, a meal that could warm you up on the coldest winter nights. The sauerkraut would become sweet and mellow during the long cooking process, while the pork chops stayed juicy and flavorful. Your grandmother might add sliced apples or onions for extra sweetness, or serve it with mashed potatoes and rye bread. This dish proved that simple ingredients from different cultures could come together to create something uniquely American.